I want to share with you a story. A true story that has haunted me for a long time. This isn't one of those made-up horror tales. No jump scares, no cheap tricks, just a slow, heavy presence that drained me night after night. It all started after I graduated from university. Back then I was seeing someone. He was younger than me, still a university student. After some time dating, he suggested we move in together. I thought about it and agreed. But the tiny room I was renting wasn't big enough for both of us, so we began searching for a proper place, somewhere comfortable, quiet, somewhere we could start building something new together. Eventually, we found an apartment in Phu Nguyen district, Saigon. It was on the 12th floor. Apartment number 6. The place looked decent. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a little kitchen. It was old but clean enough. The rent was reasonable. Nothing too fancy, but it felt right. I still remember what my grandfather used to say. No matter where you live, before you move in, burn incense. Ask for permission. Pay your respects to the unseen. So I did just that. A small offering. Incense smoke swirling through the empty rooms. A quiet prayer, asking for peace. That night, after spending the whole day moving and setting up, we were exhausted. My boyfriend passed out as soon as he hit the bed. But me? I couldn't sleep at all. I lay there for hours, staring at the dark ceiling. My body was tired, but my mind was restless. Something didn't feel right. It was hard to explain, like there was someone else in the room, watching, staring. Have you ever felt that? That invisible stare cutting into your back, even though you see nothing. It crawls under your skin, tightens your chest, makes you want to look over your shoulder, but you don't dare. I tried to shake it off, tossed and turned all night. I might have dozed off for an hour or two as the sun came up. The next morning, as we got ready for work, I casually asked him, "Did you sleep well last night?" He smiled. Slept like a baby. I was exhausted. I just nodded. Didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But the second night, it happened again. The same heaviness, the same feeling of being watched. But that night something new happened. I heard water. It sounded like someone was pouring or flushing water somewhere nearby. Loud, repetitive. I checked everywhere. The bathroom, the kitchen, all dry. There was no rain, no dripping pipes. The sound didn't come from inside our unit. It was coming from somewhere else, like beyond the walls. I thought maybe someone was cleaning the garbage chute. You know, in buildings like this, each floor has a small garbage room near the stairwell. Maybe late-night maintenance? But it was strange. The sound came and went, as if it was following me. I even opened the door and peeked down the hallway. Nothing. The sound stopped completely as I stood there. I went back in, locked the door, and laid down again. The moment I closed my eyes, the water started pouring again. Louder, almost like it was mocking me. That night, I barely slept, again. By the third night, things escalated. Around midnight, both of us heard it this time. From above us, loud dragging noises. Furniture being scraped across the floor, screeching, banging, thuds. Then came the shouting, the arguing, a man and a woman yelling at each other, furious, violent. We both sat up listening. "Are they fighting upstairs?" I asked. "Yeah, sounds bad," he replied, half awake. Now our apartment was on the 12th floor. Above us was the 13th, and right above us was apartment number 6, just like ours. That night was only the beginning. For the next several nights, it continued. Like clockwork. Every midnight, the same sounds, the same argument, the same violent crashing. We couldn't sleep. We couldn't escape it. It felt like we were living directly underneath some twisted, endless domestic war. We tried moving into the second bedroom, hoping the other side of the apartment would be quieter, but no. The noise followed us, echoed through the walls, even louder, and the nights grew longer, colder, heavier. We were trapped inside our own home, with something that didn't belong to the world of the living. By the 5th night, we were reaching our limit. The same arguments, the same furniture scraping across the ceiling, but no matter how loud it got, no one else in the building seemed to complain. It was like we were the only ones hearing it. I started feeling uneasy during the daytime, too. Even when the sun was up and the streets were alive, I couldn't shake the thought, what exactly is happening above us? Who lives up there? I finally told my boyfriend, "We can't keep going like this. I'm going to talk to whoever lives upstairs." He hesitated but nodded. "Yeah, it's getting out of hand." That afternoon, I went down to the building's lobby to speak with the security guard. "Can you please help me get to the 13th floor?" I asked. "My unit is directly below, and every night there's constant arguing and loud noises coming from the apartment above." The security guard looked at me for a moment. His expression changed, like he was holding something back. He nodded politely, though. "All right, I'll go with you." We got into the elevator. The metal doors slid shut. The soft humming of the motor filled the silence as we ascended. Then, midway up, the guard suddenly asked me, "Which apartment number are you living in?" I answered, "12th floor, apartment number 6. He fell quiet for a second, but then, almost nervously, he repeated, "So, that would mean you're hearing noises from apartment 6 on the 13th floor?" I nodded, a little confused by his reaction. "Yes, that's the one." He paused again. His eyes didn't meet mine. His voice dropped lower. "I'll take you up, but I need you to understand something. There's nobody living in that apartment." I froze for a moment. "What do you mean? Someone must be living there. We hear them every night." He shook his head firmly. "No, that unit is vacant, has been for a long time." The elevator reached the 13th floor. The doors slid open with a faint ding. The hallway was dead silent. Not a single light flickered, not a single sound. He gestured toward apartment number 6. "You can knock if you want, but no one's going to answer." He whispered. Still in disbelief, I walked over to the door. I rang the bell, knocked, waited. Nothing. I knocked again. Silence. "See?" the guard said softly. No one. I felt my chest tighten. A strange chill crawled down my spine. My voice was shaking as I turned to him. "But we hear voices, arguments, almost every single night." The guard sighed deeply. "You should know, years ago that apartment was rented out to a married couple. The husband killed his wife in that unit, right inside the bathroom." He paused, then continued, his voice heavy. "After he murdered her, he locked the bathroom door, sat alone inside all night, then turned himself in the next morning." I was frozen in place, unable to respond. "The owner lives overseas now," the guard added. "They tried renting it out afterward, but no one could stay. People kept leaving after only a few nights." He stared at me seriously. "You're not the first person to hear noises from up here." I didn't know what to say. My mind was spinning. All the sleepless nights, the arguments, the banging, it all made a terrible kind of sense now. We took the elevator back down in silence. That night I didn't tell my boyfriend. I didn't want him to panic. But after that conversation with the guard, everything felt different. The apartment seemed colder, heavier, as if it was breathing. And still, every night, as the clock struck midnight, the arguing returned. The scraping sound started again, just like before, like clockwork. We stayed for 2 more weeks, trying to endure, but there was no peace, no rest. It was as if that apartment above was replaying the same tragic scene over and over again, forever trapped in its final violent night. By the end of that month, I was barely holding on. Every single night, the same sounds, the arguments, the dragging furniture, the violent thuds, and always around midnight, as if something or someone was trapped up there, reliving the moment again and again. But strangely, during the daytime, everything was perfectly normal. No noises, no strange feelings, nothing. Almost like the apartment only came alive when darkness fell. I kept telling myself, maybe it was all in my head, maybe I was stressed. But every time I heard that familiar scraping from above, that faint echo of shouting, I knew, this is not in my head. One morning, after another sleepless night, my boyfriend had to go to class and I had the day off. I was alone and I made a decision. I couldn't keep pretending anymore. I needed answers. If the security guard was right, if nobody lived up there, then what were we hearing? I went back to the lobby and spoke to another staff member. This time it was an older man, one who had been working in the building for years. I asked him directly, "Sir, can you tell me what really happened in apartment 6 on the 13th floor?" He looked at me for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "You already spoke to the night guard, didn't you?" I nodded. He sighed heavily, then leaned in. "The couple who lived there, it was horrible. The husband had always been jealous, unstable. One night, they got into a huge fight. Neighbors heard screaming, but by the time anyone called security, it was too late." He lowered his voice even more. "He stabbed her to death in the bathroom. Afterward, he sat in the blood-soaked room for hours, then went to the police in the morning. Since then, no tenant has ever lasted in that apartment. The man's voice trembled as he continued. Some say her spirit never left. That at night the fight replays itself, over and over again, as if the walls themselves remember. I felt my stomach twist into knots. I thanked him quietly and returned to our apartment, feeling completely drained. That night I couldn't hide it anymore. I told my boyfriend everything. The murders, the history, the reason why nobody lived above us. His face went pale. He was silent for a long time. And that very night, as if mocking our fear, the noises came back stronger than ever. It was as if they knew we finally understood. The shouting was angrier, the banging was louder. The dragging, it was like the entire ceiling was shaking. We didn't sleep at all that night. By morning, we both agreed we had to leave. We contacted the landlord, explained everything, and to their credit, they were surprisingly understanding. They returned our deposit in full, almost as if this wasn't the first time they'd heard such a complaint. A few days later, we packed up our things and moved out. Before leaving, I burned one last set of incense, whispered one last silent prayer, and hoped whatever was trapped above us would someday find peace. We moved into a new apartment after that. We were much more careful this time, always asking about a place's history before signing anything. But eventually life took us in different directions. Our relationship didn't survive long after that. Even now, years later, I still remember the sound of furniture scraping across that ceiling, the echoes of arguments that no one alive was having, the way the air turned cold at midnight, and sometimes late at night, I still wonder, did we really leave that apartment behind, or is part of it still following?